October 24th, 1970, Eric Clapton and his new band, Derek and the Dominoes, are beginning a U.S. tour in support of their debut album, Layla and Assorted Love Songs. Immediately after this interview, they will take the stage at the Fillmore East for the second of a two-night stand. The show will be recorded and released as a live album, but it will be their last. In 7 months, the band will break up.
I made a little list of all the groups that you've been playing with and everything. It's one hell of a list. Rhode Island Red and the Roosters, the Yardbirds, John Mayall, Cream, Blind Faith, Delaney and Bonnie, and now Derek and the Dominoes. Did I leave any out? Is that about it?
Say it again.
Rhode Island Red and the Roosters, Yardbirds, John Mayall.
Yeah, you left one out already. There was one after the Roosters, before the Yardbirds, Casey Jones and the Engineers.
Okay, then the Yardbirds, John Mayall, Cream.
Yeah.
Blind Faith,
Yeah.
Delaney and Bonnie.
Yeah.
And Derek and the Dominoes.
Yeah.
How come so many groups? That's probably more than any person's played in. That's a lot of groups.
No, I'm sure there are some people that have played in lots more groups than that. I mean, that's just, a widely publicized thing. I mean, that's kind of like my gimmick, if anything, that's been attached to me. Do you know what I mean? I'm sure there are lots of people like session men, in
other
America.
than session. other than session men, though. You
Well,
remember.
let's say musicians. I mean, there are probably musicians in America that have played, especially, say, blues musicians, Spade Cats that have played with hundreds of different bands. Really? You'd be surprised.
How come groups break up, though? Like what happens? Or why do you keep, why different groups all the time? In your own case.
Dissatisfaction, the desire to move on, or I don't know, maybe that's probably the whole thing. Dissatisfaction with what the group that you're with is doing, or dissatisfaction with your own contribution to what the group is doing, so the group dissolves.
How about
But
with
it's a
Derek?
natural thing, It's very natural.
You feel that is natural, it's like a good thing.
Well, all things must come to pass, sooner or later. I mean, it depends on how powerful and how productive the group is. I mean, with a group like the Cream, it was very spontaneous, but not necessarily very productive, you see. So it didn't last very long, like 2 years maybe. With a group like the Stones or the Beatles, which are very productive and they are very successful, they'll last longer, but they'll sooner or later, they'll fold or become something else.
How about with Derek and the Dominoes now? Do you see that lasting a long time? How does it look at this point, yeah?
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't form it with the idea of it just being a quick group and on to something else.
I think probably did, actually. I think I probably did, yeah. I think it was done, the original concept was, it was all accidental. Bobby came to England, Bobby Whitlock, and, I was doing nothing, but I wanted to do something, and I was offered a concert, which was a benefit, I wouldn't make any money, but it was just a chance to play somewhere, for Dr. Spock, that man, the American man, and, Bobby and I thought, well, we'd do that, so we'll need a rhythm section, and the only rhythm section we knew that we could work with was Jim and Carl, so we got Jim and Carl over as soon as they'd finished with Joe Cocker. And I think that was the only thing we had planned. We rehearsed for 2 days and did that one concert, and then after that, there was no guarantee. I mean, we still haven't signed a thing. No one in this group has signed one contract,
That's a little unusual.
Yeah, but I mean, it's been totally unnecessary so far. In fact, I kind of I'd shy away from the idea, because any time I've ever signed anything on a piece of paper, it's always, meant that pretty soon after doing it, I'd get disillusioned. You know, I mean, so far the fact that we haven't signed anything has been, I'm sure, has been part of the reason why we stuck together. You know, I'm sure. I don't think that, you know, it would have to be a pretty strong reason for this group to break up. Because you see, most of the times before it was me that left, you know. But this time I can't leave, you see, because I'm at the forefront of the group, so, you know, I've got to I'm responsible in a way. This is the first time I had a responsible part in any groups I've been in. So, I've got to live up to it, you know. I mean, if I chicken out at this time, you know, I chicken out, I cop out to myself too, you know.
Why not call the group by your name? Everybody knows that Derek and the Dominoes, or Eric Clapton, you know, I mean...
Well, then what's the difference?
But why? Why not?
Because I guess it's just more fun to have a name, you know. It's just lighter, you know. Just to have someone else give you a name. I mean, it's nice to have a nickname. It's nice if I gave you a nickname right now, you'd be pleased with it, you'd like it. Because it would be a sign of affection, you know. And someone gave our band a nickname right away. And so we've stuck with it, you know.
Because the reports I had heard, I mean, you never know what you hear until you talk to the person, was that there was more part of your alleged shyness, you know, that you didn't want to just people to come and see you just based on a past reputation.
Well, I wanted that's part of it, you know. I wanted the audiences to accept the fact that it was for musicians rather than me being backed up by other guys, although, you know, a lot of the time it does come out like that because I sing a lot of the lead, you know. In fact, too much of the time I sing lead. But, you know, I still really nourish the idea of the thing being a group, you know, instead of one guy with a rhythm section, you know.
And with the singing, there were all these stories always talked about how you never wanted to sing and all that. Is that true?
I've always wanted to sing. I've always sung, but, you know, I've always sung in my head or with my guitar. But the voice is the natural instrument, you know. It's the instrument that God gave you to sing with. I mean, you don't have to have a case or an amplifier to sing, you know. I mean, you can take that instrument anywhere, you know.
Well, what kept you from singing so
It's
long?
hard. It's hard to sing. It's not easy. It's something you have to learn to do. It takes years and years to be able to sing and please yourself. I mean, you could probably anyone could probably open their mouth and sing and please someone else, but to sing and please yourself while you're pleasing other people, it takes a long time. You know, you have to be pretty good, I guess.
Are you pleasing yourself now?
No.
I thought it was pretty good.
Sometimes I do. You know, like I can
I thought
sing.
it was already a lot better. I saw the first show last night. I thought it was already a lot better even than on the album.
Thank you.
You know, I think a lot of shadings and everything to it.
Thank you very much. I think too it's a lot better. I think it gets better every day. But, you know, with me, it's so fine and gradual, the difference between, you know, my singing one day and the next, that it's hardly noticeable. But I'm sure it is getting better, and it will get better as long as I keep at it, you know.
Are you sorry now that you didn't start early?
Yeah, god damn, yeah. Good grief, because, like, if I'd started when I was 10 years old, you know. But you see, I came from the wrong environment, you know. There weren't people singing around where I came from. You know, if I'd been born in the South where people just sing all the time, the South, you know, Mississippi, somewhere like that, stood a better chance. But, you know, farm labourers in England in the country don't sing while they work. They grumble.
How did it finally happen then? What was the final thing that got you to try it?
Well, I've said this before a lot. I've been asked this question before a lot of times in interviews now, and I have a kind of fear of repeating myself. But I mean, if you don't think it matters.
No. Tell me. I want to hear it right from you.
It was Delaney. It was Delaney's. I really think Delaney is, like a saint. And he has a lot of weaknesses. He drinks a lot. And he's really a southern rebel rouser. He's like a really wild guy, a hillbilly. But he was the first one that told me. He told me straight out. The first thing he said to me, I think, more or less, when I met him last year, was that God has given you a talent, and if you don't use it, it will recede. He'll take it away from you. You see. And because he knew he knew instinctively that I had, wanted to sing, that I had the desire to sing, and maybe had the capability to sing. But it needed someone else to tell me to do it. I needed to kick up the arse, really. And Delaney was the first one, to encourage me to do it. Most of the other people I've been with have also, been too hung up with their own thing, to have time to tell me what to do or to encourage me. But Delaney had his thing so together that, he had the power to be able to give as well, to encourage.
Did it kind of scare you? Was it like, wow, I'm going to sing? Was there like a first night almost? Do you know what I mean?
There was. Yes, there was. Yeah, it scared me. Doing that first album scared me because we spent a week doing the tracks, and we'd finished the tracks, and then we had to put the voices on, And I refused to let anyone in the studio but me and Delaney, and it was even hard singing with Delaney there because he's so good. It was really, really frightening. And it's still, I still don't like to listen to that album because it brings back memories of how scary it was, And sometimes now, I get, when I'm on stage, even halfway through the act, even if we're doing well and the audience likes it, and I've got a song to do which I know requires a few kind of vocal gymnastics or something that I'm not really, quite capable of doing yet, I get panicky. I try not to let it show because people can sense it very quickly.
It doesn't show. You seem very in authority as far as the singing.
It's really
very relaxed.
Thank you very much.
But without being relaxed, sloppy, you know what I mean? I don't mean like you didn't care. It looked like you really had it down.
Yeah.
But you actually feel that fright even on stage.
Of course, yeah.
How about with you playing? Does that ever occur that way?
Yes.
Even when you're playing?
It never did. It does now because you see, I've separated up my talent, talent that I've been given into two things. Before it was just channeled into guitar playing. So I had that covered. I really thought for a long time that there was, that I was all right. There was nothing wrong. It was going to, I could just pick up the guitar and play any time, and it would be all right. But now that I've got two things to think about, like singing and playing, I often find that when I stop singing and start to play, I don't like it, I don't like the sound of it, or I get worried about the notes I'm playing, something,
And you can think about all that while singing and playing in front of an audience. All that can also be going on in your head.
Yeah, really.
That's
There's
amazing.
an incredible amount of things that can be going on in your head while you're doing it,
How about when you're playing with a group, your present group, who pushes who? I mean, you're obviously like in the lead position when you're positioning on stage and doing the lead vocals, but are there portions where like the drummer is pushing you?
Yeah, we all push. I don't know, you see, I don't know, you'd have to ask the others about what I do to the group because I don't really know what my effect on them is. But when I sing to the bass. I pitch to the bass for some reason. I don't know why. It's just a natural thing. And also when I sing, the power of my singing depends a lot on whether or not Bobby's going to sing with me. If Bobby's singing with me, I'll sing stronger because he's a very strong singer and he can push me. He can give me the support, he'll break into a lick, do something spontaneous, and I'll follow him. It's very rare that I do something and Bobby follows me. It's usually the other way round. And when I play with Jim, the drummer. I play to Jim. You see, so all three of them have a different pushing effect on me at different times, you know. And I'm sure it's probably just, you know, exactly the same for all the others. You know, we probably all require something from one another, you know, at certain points during the set.
Is it similar in recording studio situation too?
No, but because in the studio, unless you're doing it live, you know, unless you're cutting it all at the same time, you're overdubbing, you know.
Yeah.
So you put down a track and go and listen to it back, you know, and you judge it yourself, you know, you make your own decisions. I mean, it has to be a unanimous thing, you know, everyone has to agree on whether or not this particular take was the one. But I mean, you have the opportunity to do it and go and review it, you know, afterthought.
Do you have as much fun, you know, does it give you as much kick doing it in studio as playing live? Which is it?
There's a kind of vicarious kick to producing or, you know, building a track. You know, when you do it, when you put a basic track down and lay one thing on top of another, you know, you can almost stand outside it and look on it as if it's someone else's thing that you're doing. But it's not really as much fun as being in the studio and just cutting. That's what I really like to do most of all, is just to go into a studio with, say, about, you know, 10 or 12 songs, enough for an album, say, and just to cut them without listening to them back. You know, to have enough musicians there so that you can do it live, sing it at the same time, and then not go and listen to it back, but just do the next one, as if you're on stage, you know.
Mm.
And then listen to it back later, maybe.
With the, you know, with how good you are at guitar, I mean, you know, I'm sure you've been told this 1,000 times. I mean, you know, you're awfully good. Do you practice an enormous amount to keep that up? Like I see a guitar next to you, you know,
Yeah.
acoustic guitar. Do you always have one and you just play a lot?
All the time, yeah. I play all the time, and I sing as much as I can, you know. But see, singing in a hotel room is totally different from singing on stage. It's really different, because you can sing quietly in here. In fact, you have to sing quietly in here. But on stage, you've got to project more. You've got to sing out, because, you know, sometimes you might not be able to hear yourself back too clearly in a certain part of a song because the band is playing loud. So you've got to sing through it, you know, you've got to have power in your voice. But as far as the guitar playing is concerned, I mean, I just do that all the time, you know, all the time. Not necessarily practicing. I don't think I'd practice, do exercises or anything like that.
You just play.
Yeah.
I read something somewhere about the idea that you want to give up touring, and that the pressure of doing it every night, you
You
become
read that
known
in
as
New
almost
York
like,
Times.
yeah, like you become almost the fastest guitar in the West. You know, and like,
Oh, it's madness, all that, really, because, I mean, really, this...
no, do you
it's my
feel that
life.
pushed every
Yeah,
night
yeah.
to better what you did the last
Yeah,
show, and
of course, yeah, of course.
in an enjoyable way?
It's a challenge, really. My responsibility really is to the other guys in the band. I feel responsible to them to play good, you know, or to make to try and make an improvement every night. Because the audience may not know the difference, you know, that if it's the first time they've seen you, they don't have anything to compare you with anyway. But the band knows, you know. The guys in the band know when you're doing good and when you're not doing good. But I mean, and so it's kind of, it's sometimes a strain, sometimes it's very, very hard. And I mean, when you've been on the road for about 2 or 3 months, you need a rest, you know. You do need to stop and regenerate your batteries, you know.
But you're not considering giving it all up.
I don't think I could. I really don't think I could, unless something came along to take its place.
Oh, because I thought there was actually that idea that you were going to just stop.
I don't think I could ever stop playing. I think, well, I said something in the New York Times about, you know, like I could vanish at any time. I could just stop making appearances at any time. I think I could, you know, I think that's quite easy. You know, financially, if I was secure enough to be able not to have to go on the road, which I'm not at the moment, you know, I need to go out to make money to exist. if I didn't need to do that, then as long as I had someone around me to play with, you know, I could probably just stay at home all the time.
How could you not be financially secure after all those enormous
Because I've spent all the
hits?
bread I've made. I've always lived outside my income, man. Ever since, you know, if I had tuppence, 2 cents, I'd spend 3.
Do any
You know,
rock musicians live within their income?
I don't know.
Because when I talked with Mick
So-
Jagger, he said the same thing.
Well,
When I
Mick-
talked to
yeah.
John Lennon, I said, really? If not Fallon Klein, you guys would be broke now? And he said, absolutely broke.
yes, absolutely true. You spend all your money. I mean, we see most musicians don't actually like the money they make. It makes them feel guilty because, you know, there's so much poverty in the world. You know, and people starving who could, you know, with $5 could, you know, live one more day. And here you are making a lot of money, which you waste and squander. But I mean, it's the only way, you see, I don't think you can save the world with money. I don't think money will change anything. I think money corrupts. So I get rid of it as quick as I can, as quick as I make it, I get rid of it, or I don't want, you know, I mean, I don't, at this time, have a penny in this room. Maybe I've got $4 or $5, which has just been hanging around in my pocket for a while. But I don't like to have any money on me. I don't like.
Yeah, but when you say
money.
you've spent all your money or something like that, that you really need the tour to make money, you mean that you're down to your last $100,000? Or you mean you're down, I mean, you're really broke?
No, I'm not really broke. I think I could probably stop working now and live on what I've made for a couple of years.
But that would be about it.
Yeah.
Do you know any other, you know, musicians who have been, you know, of the stature of yourself that have saved their money?
I think there are some. I'm sure there are musicians.
But you mean rare?
Well, I think there are certain kinds of musicians, and there are some groups that go out on the road with the intention of making money. You know, they plan it. It's a hype to begin with. You know, to plan things, so they go out and make a lot of money and put it in, you know, sort of kind of tax evasive companies. You know, in fact, that's going on with a lot of my money. You know, because my manager is a very shrewd money-making businessman. You know, and that's no insult to him because that's his thing. He enjoys doing it. You know, I pity him in a way because if that's all he's got to dig, it's sad, really. But you know, he takes the money we make and tries to find a way for it to make more. You know.
Roger McGuinn told me that one time, a very early tour of the Byrds, they went out, and it was a tour mainly of large cities in the West, and they made $300,000 on the tour. I mean, that's what they took in, their share. And they thought, fantastic. They couldn't believe it. They got back, counted everything up with the managers and the accountants, added it all up, and they had made zero. It was almost a perfect income and outgo, just like that. And he said that was the last time they ever lived like that. Limousines for each member of the group, wherever
Well,
they
that's-
went. They'd lose limousines in
Right.
some of the towns, he said. And from then on, though, he said they were very careful. That taught them a big lesson. He thought $300,000, that's it. He might not ever have to work again. Yeah. What is it? He has to go? Okay.
Really? Wow, yeah, it's late, isn't it?
Okay.
Okay,
Have a good show.
thanks a lot.
Okay.